Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to the Blitz Chess postmortem. Before I get started, I wanted to mention that I'm going to be away from my computer for about a week. So this will be the last video that I upload for a while. But enjoy all the videos that are here. Okay, so let's get to the game. This is my Blitz game number 222. I was white here, kicked off with d4. Here, put on a little noise. And I was looking forward to a nice queen's pawn game after d4, d5. I play c4, and my opponent surprises me here by playing, instead of the usual moves, e6, c6, or takes, he plays c5. So I looked this up, and I found this is called the Symmetrical defense, or the Austrian defense, to the queen's gambit. So symmetrical, obviously, because of the symmetry, and I guess there were some Austrian players that studied this opening, so that's why it's called that. Before we get on to the game, let's take a look at the main line here. Normally, white plays knight f3 here, most popular move, and then black can follow up with e6. This would transpose into the semi-Tarrasch, or the Tarrasch defense, I guess. Yeah, after e6, it's transposed into the Tarrasch defense. Or he could play d takes c4. And that seems like a logical move. I mean, this pawn was hanging. And white can get that back by playing d3, and we're in a type of queen's gambit accepted. It's also possible to play queen a4 check and pick up the pawn. So if you want to get your pawn back right away, you can do that. So knight f3 is not a gambit, really. But d takes c4 be the way to stay in unique lines to the symmetrical. And then c takes d5 and knight to f6, using the knight to round up the pawn. Knight to f6 and queen takes d4, or knight takes d4, either one. Okay, so let's go back to the game. That's kind of similar in some respects to what happened. After c5, I played c takes d5. If you're ever wondering, if you're in this kind of situation where you have two different ways of capturing in the center, this seems to happen quite a lot in these queen pawn openings. It's often the best idea to capture towards the center. And there's a couple reasons. One is that by taking towards the center, you're giving up a wing pawn, but you're taking a center pawn, which is usually more valuable. And the second reason is after you capture away from the center with d takes c4, your opponent has the option of pushing straight ahead, which can be annoying. Say if you've got a piece here on c3, that push can be annoying. So if you're going to take, probably the way to take is c takes d5. And if you look at the chess engine, actually rates c takes d5 as its top choice. So I was doing okay so far. And then normal would be to play e6. That's interesting. It looks like kind of a gambit. But the e6 takes and bishop takes. And I guess black has some compensation for the pawn. He's got quick development there. But he didn't play that. Another idea would be to take with the queen right away. But he played c takes d4. Okay, so queen takes d5 would be a choice. C takes d4 is just not that great. Because I can take the pawn, and I should have instead. So queen takes d4 would be a normal move here. And I'm a pawn up, and maybe he can capture this pawn back. But it's not obvious, and actually the engine thinks white has a really good position there. So let's back up. Instead, I played the move knight f3, which surprisingly is popular here in the database. But the engine doesn't like it. It's just not as good as just taking the pawn right away, because for one thing, he can grab the pawn now. And so I wanted to show you one funny shot here, which is, yeah, it's in the opening book. Knight c3 is possible here. Knight c3, because he can't take it. If he takes the pawn, you take the queen. The queen is just loose there, so the pawn is pinned. So knight c3 hits the queen, and he has to move it. So queen d7, queen a5, and then you pick up get the pawn back with a good position, because you've got better development. If, say, he plays queen a5, the computer suggestion, and say you take with the queen. I mean, he can gain a tempo by hitting your queen, but you have a couple pieces out, and all he has out is his queen. So it's not that great an advantage. It's just a slight edge for white. Okay. Really, my chance was to grab the pawn right here. After he played c takes d4, I could have just grabbed the pawn right away rather than playing knight f3. Okay, so he played queen takes d5, and now I play a bad move. And this move is so bad that normally I would disqualify this game from being uploaded. But there were some interesting tactics later, and also it's the first time I've seen this opening and first time I've played it for this channel, so I always like to take the opportunity when I get the chance to do a new opening, to do a little bit of opening book exploration with the opening and see how it should be played. So hopefully you guys got something out of this. But anyway, this is a horrible move. What did I play here? Oh, sorry. Queen takes d5, knight takes d4. The bad move isn't yet, although that was not as good. If I was going to take the pawn, I should probably take it with the queen here. Knight takes d4 is not good because of e5, but it's the next move that's really horrible because I play knight c3, hitting his queen, thinking his queen has to move away. But his queen has a very good square to move to. If you didn't spot it during the game, here's your chance. Anyway, the queen can just take my knight, and I'm just a piece down for nothing. Yeah, completely no compensation. So this is a horrible game, and normally I wouldn't upload it. But, well, that was one extenuating circumstance was that it is the first time I've seen this opening. And then the other reason is I need to get going. I'm going to be away from my computer for a while, so I wanted to have something to upload here. And so I could at least leave a message, let you guys know I wasn't going to be around for a while, so there wouldn't be any new uploads. Okay, but my opponent plays bishop to b4. And now I have to give myself some credit. After beating myself up, I find the best move here. So queen a4 check is just the best move in this position. Since my opponent, that's a blunder and a counter blunder. I blundered by letting him take my knight, and he blundered by not taking it. But this knight c6 is forced. He's got to defend the bishop. And the other move allows me to win a piece. And after this, I can take the knight. And now I'm threatening a discovered attack with the knight. So he has to take my knight with check. Take back. And then he should take with the queen here. Queen takes, b takes, and just a slight edge for white. But he took with the pawn. Although it's understandable he didn't want to trade queens this early in the game. It looks like kind of a dead position. I would have a slight edge because of the bishop pair, but not much to write home about. But this allows me to play another good move, e4. So I just gain space in the center, open up a line for my bishop, and kick his queen again. So now actually I have a pretty noticeable edge. He goes to d6, avoiding trades again. And I develop my bishop, logically, kicking his queen. Queen went to c7. And now I play bishop c4. Okay, looks like rook d1 is best. I was thinking about that too, but bishop c4. Okay, they're both up there. Still good moves. Right around here, knight e7. Castles. Okay, now I'm still on the right track. So I'm keeping this pretty strong advantage, even though the material's even. I mean, this is a winning advantage more than a pawn. So it's interesting. It's a symmetrical pawn structure. The material is even. My only material edge really is that I have the bishop pair. But I am just faster in development. My opponent castles. And then a few moves later, this advantage has disappeared. And so it looks like the engine prefers that I should continue by developing, bring my rooks to the center, rook a to d1, rook f to d1, rook a to b1, putting the rooks on open files. It's all very logical. I started playing around with my queen here. Now this is a move that comes with a threat, but he can guard against the threat. It's not too difficult, and it helps his development. So I'm not really accomplishing a lot. In fact, my edge, my advantage has already diminished. And so rook a b1, that's probably an okay move. a5, queen has to go somewhere. I went to b3. The engine liked queen b6, right? Queen b6. Isn't that a sacrifice? Oh, no, the rook. Queen takes. Okay, yeah, the engine thinks I should trade queens here. And the advantage of the two bishops would probably be stronger. in that case. I might even be able to chase this rook away and win the knight. Okay, queen b3, and then knight g6. And let's see, do I make another? Yeah, I make another queen move here, queen c2. Once again, if you look at this, it says I should make a rook move, rook f to d1, so both my rooks are on open files. Very logical. Queen c2, just trying to get my queen to a better square. But my advantage has once again diminished, and he could play knight f4 here. And he plays that later in the game, and actually it gets quite a good position. So I went from a position where I had total domination to a few imprecise moves, and now we're in the range of rough equality with a slight edge to white, typical kind of opening advantage. And after I declined to take the bishop here, I go to e2. You see the opening advantage has pretty much disappeared. Now he's got knight f4. and we're definitely in the range of equality here. So I play bishop f3 and bishop c4, kicking my rook. Finally, I get my rook out, but rook fe1. Yeah, I realized this after I played it. This is my second blunder in the game. The other moves, I mean, there's not playing the best moves, being slightly imprecise, but this is an outright blunder because it gives up, it doesn't defend the threat of bishop to d3, which is a skewer winning the exchange here. And once again, my opponent let me off the hook here by playing knight to d3 instead of bishop to d3. So I get to activate my rook, chases knight away, and now the square is protected, so he can't play bishop d3. So I went with the rook to e1. And there's still some edge with black due to my somewhat lackluster play here. Rook e to d8, grabbing the open file, so I decide to oppose it on the open file. He exchanges. And rook to d8. So it was funny. So I had, I started off badly. I had a string of good moves when I played actively, starting with the queen check, and then a series of mediocre moves leading to another blunder. And then we're once again in the situation where my opponent let me off the hook for the blunder, and the game is somewhere around even. So I play queen a4. I was mindful, at least I was paying attention, that the rook d1 checkmate is guarded by both the bishop and the queen. So I was paying attention to that, but I forgot about the pawn. And so he grabs the pawn here. And black has an edge here now. Okay, but the game goes on. Bishop to c1. Yeah, I wanted to kind of reroute this bishop. It didn't seem to be doing a whole lot here, and I was thinking maybe I could trade it off for this knight on f4, which is really annoying. So he went bishop e6, just retreating, having grabbed his pawn. I went c4, yeah. It restricts the scope of his bishop, and it gives my dark squared bishop some more squares to go to. So maybe I can go here and attack his pawn, his a pawn, and on a good day. Right now I can't go to e2 because it's protected. Okay, he plays rook d4, trying to get active with his rook. Not bad. I went to c3, defending my c-pawn, which is under attack. And knight g6. Don't know what that did, really. Gives me a chance to kind of regroup. I play... oh, well, he wanted to get it out of take. Let's see. What did the engine suggest? Just rook d3. Yeah, with rook d3, I pretty much have to take the rook or defend it. I don't have time to take the knight. So rook d3, queen c2, rook takes c3, queen takes c3, and queen b6. Yeah, so leaving the knight there is okay. He retreated, and well, we're back in the range of about even. I played g3, so his knight wasn't going to hop into these squares anymore, trying to limit its scope, and he plays bishop h3. And I could continue with rook a3, going after the pawn here, or bishop e2, it says is possible now. Oh, e2, yeah, bishop e2, this bishop. I played bishop g2. I don't like this this bishop near my king taking away squares. Although once again I have to be careful of this checkmate threat on the back rank, but the queen is guarding d1, so still I'm okay. So he retrieved the bishop, and now he is kind of threatening rook d1, so I play f3 there to block it. He goes bishop e6, attacking the pawn again, which is still defended, and I regroup with my queen, getting it more a little closer to the action. He went c5, and now I can chases rook with my bishop. Rook retreats. And bishop f1. Shoring up this pawn and freeing up the queen and the rook to do other things. He goes f5. Okay, and now finally, after all of my blunders and my opponent's forgiving him, my opponent makes a blunder, and I at least notice this. And it's kind of funny. He must have been just having an off day, because he missed a couple chances to win, and now he throws the game away with this move. Yeah, it's one of those moves where sometimes your opponent's reply is sort of subtle, and you don't realize what the mistake is. But the reply here is kind of the most obvious move on the board. When you push a pawn up like that, you have to consider he's probably going to take it, and you just have to notice that actually that's a fork. And so he's losing material here. He decides to take, but I'm just winning from now on. I think I will just fast forward through the rest of the moves here. He chases me around a little bit, but he never really gets anything going. And I can trade off pieces. And yeah, that was the main technique that I used here, was the bishop to e4, supporting the queen and supporting the move rook to b7, which forces, since all his pieces are on the 7th rank there, it forces a bunch of exchanges. And now this is an easily winning endgame. So I just had to calculate. That's true. This is one important lesson here. Before playing a move like that, which takes all of the pieces down to nothing, you have to make sure you can stop the remaining pawn. So I had to calculate rook here, takes, 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 and then pawn push. And the next square where I can stop the pawn is here. So the bishop comes back to e4. He pushes again, and I push the c pawn, and I'm just in time to stop that. So we get into this position, and yeah, it all unfolded. I had time to bring my bishop back and to move this pawn, and I'm stopping his pawn from becoming a queen. So it really was a win all along. But I screw up here in a way. Turns out it doesn't cost me the win, but it was a very dangerous way to play, and I'll show you why. I let him exchange too many pawns. I should just keep these pawns here and maybe push the c pawn to distract his king, and then I can gobble these pawns up. That's the simplest way to win. Instead, I pushed ahead, and I let him trade off some pawns. And when the pawns are reduced enough, he goes here with g5, I should just push on with f5. Second mistake, I take again. Now I'm just down to 2 pawns. And the important thing here is this pawn queen's on a dark square, and my bishop covers a light square. And that means that there is a drawing possibility if black can get his king in front of the pawn and give up, if he can win the c-pawn and then get his king in front of my h-pawn, then it's a draw. So I really should not have traded those pawns. That was very bad technique. Okay, now I get the idea of pushing c6, but the king comes over, and I attack the other pawn. And then he forces the win of the c-pawn by sacrificing his a-pawn. That was good technique on his part. And now I was just fortunate enough that my bishop and my king are cutting off his path, so he can't really get over here. My king comes forward. So you'll see how it goes. I come forward, he comes forward, but he can't go to this square. He has to go to e7, and then I can come forward here. And now he can go as far as f8, but he can't ever get past the g8 square. And now my pawn has a straight path into queen, so now it's an easy win. And after a few more moves, yes, my opponent resigned in this position here. So, okay, I thought there were a couple of interesting points there in spite of the terrible play early in the game and throughout, actually. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I will be back in about a week or so. So see you then. Bye.